Welcome back. So second half of the week, the first thing I wanted to do was drill the holes in these 2x4 steel beams that were going to hold the tank. It was going to be a bit difficult to drill them once they welded into place, but as you can see, they're drilled and those beams are being welded. So now that's ready to have the tank bolted down. And here's Zach just fitting the foam for the braces for the right inner winglet mold that was laid up, or finished being laid up earlier this week. And then Zach and Devon were working on getting the glass cut for that, and just a fit initially before, wetting it down with the resin like they normally do. And Jeff had sprayed this other plug with the top coat and put it back in the oven again just to have the first coat quickly cure off. And that ended up getting laid up on Wednesday afternoon, but I didn't get any video of that for some reason. Anyway, here's Jeff bonding those brackets for the gear into place onto the rear of the pressure bulkhead, the cabin pressure bulkhead. And you can see those there fit nicely, so we're getting closer to actually being able to bond those bulkheads into the fuselage now, and then that sort of just will keep pushing forward and getting the rest of all the fuselage stuff bonded together. It took a little while to do those because of the bushings and all that sort of stuff, but anyway, it's coming along. And back on the engine stand, the next thing I wanted to do is take this fuel filter, and for the purposes of the test stand at least, we're just using a marine grade diesel fuel filter there. So I wanted to bolt that into place, and I've got it sitting fairly low there, which is going to sort of mimic about the same height relative to the header tank that we will have in the aircraft. And it just has one inlet and one outlet, and we're running pretty much a 1/2 inch gauge on this one, which is what's kind of recommended out of the tank, and all the way up to the engine is 1/2 inch. And with the filter in place, the next thing to do is mount this bracket which holds the fuel pump, and I'm purposely actually putting the fuel pump higher because we want to just again mimic sort of where it's going to be located in the aircraft. And the fuel pump we're using is able to pull fuel up to it to a certain degree, so I've got it about halfway up of what its maximum is, and we'll obviously just be testing it and make sure that it can do what it's supposed to do, but also it has a free flow if there's no power to it, so it shouldn't sort of cut off if there's no power running. Anyway, so mounting it there, and it has some rubber grommets, so it doesn't sort of transfer vibration into whatever it's mounted to, which is kind of a nice feature. And so the next thing to do on that is to go and hook up the hoses between those two in the tank, and then sort of head in the direction of getting it sorted out for hooking the hoses up to the engine. And we're still waiting on the new high pressure rotary fuel pump for the engine to replace the piston powered one that's currently in there. So that's something in the works, and that'll definitely improve the horsepower and reliability of the fuel delivery for diesel fuel delivery for the engine. And as you can see, I'm just bolting the tank into place temporarily because it's going to be coming out again, going to be putting another drain line there to remove any water that may gather in the bottom of the tank. So it's nice to see the engine stand coming together a little bit, and next week I'll be working on the instrument panel because we've got a bunch of different gauges now, and you'll see all that happening probably on the next video. You'll see some of it happening anyway. And with respect to the belt drive, we're still waiting on some parts, but starting to put some things together. So that's the smaller, lower pulleys that go off the drive shaft, and they're bolted together now. And here Jeff's got the header tank all sealed up, and he's carefully just putting a little bit of vacuum on the whole system just to test it for integrity. It's easier to do it that way initially than try and sort of fill it up and check for any leaks, or at least put air pressure in there. And as you can see here in a second, just holding a little bit of vacuum in there, but it's holding nicely, so we know that there's no leaks in that tank, so that's good news. So it's ready to basically bolt into place now. And if you recall, last time I showed you the platform that was the L-shaped one that we're working on for the wing spar, and here's Devon actually welding up the first one of those. So we're using a 2x4 heavier steel, as you can see there. He's just got it sort of halfway done there, and now it's sort of fully done, and the plywood's been screwed into place, and it's just waiting on the foam to go on there. So next week we'll be firing up the machine to mill that. And here you can see Zach's busy marking out the pieces of foam that need to be cut for that, and then they'll get the hot wire out and slice those and glue them down. And finally, I made a little bit more progress on the stand here, so putting in the hoses. So that's the first hose going from the outlet of the tank over to the fuel filter, and then the next thing to do was hook up the one from the fuel filter to the fuel pump. And you see that one basically loops around the back there, and so those are in place now. So next week, as I said, we'll be working on probably putting some of the instruments on that stand. So that's our update for this week, and thanks again for watching.